and I liked how it was broken into solvable, so things that we understand and things that we know how to solve. They're really obvious problems, and they come up with really concrete solutions to them. And then they have it broken into difficult problems. They know what they are and we understand them, but they're still kind of hard to solve. We may not have the technology for it, or we may not have the access to do it yet. And then they also have wicked challenges, which are what they're calling things that are really complex, and they're so complex that they're really even hard to define. And currently I work in education, but I'm trying to transition into more of a human resources role or a data role. And I find that a lot of these issues that they're talking about, or challenges with technology, are the same issues that businesses face. So even in a library, it's difficult to make things more accessible to people with different disabilities, and they find the same thing in business. So even though it's really education-based, I still think there's a lot of different ways that I can apply it, which is really cool because I can use it for my job now, but also for my job in the future. And then, oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was going to say, I think just with education itself, it kind of, it's going to hit in any field, right? So whether it's in human resources, if it's in the classroom, or even if you're not in the classroom and working in different capacities, like we all have to use technology, right? Anywhere it goes. So I think it's just good that they have the reports, and it's kind of geared towards education, but like you said, it's geared also, you can use it in any capacity, in which your job is, So when I was looking at the standards, the first one was a facilitator. The educators facilitate learning with technology to support student achievement. And so when I was reading for the important developments for technology, it's talking about how kids or teachers are starting to use more technology into the classroom, which now we are noticing that, because now, our textbooks are geared more to be ebooks. And now we're using more technology in the classrooms. Like we use the what is it called? When you do, what is it? The not like the projector, but the
smart board.
Yeah, like the smart boards, and the other one, the one that starts like with the E. What is it, like the E?
Promethean.
Mm-hmm. That, like, I feel like that type of things is helping, like, to integrate technology with our kids, like, and it's supporting our students. So it's supporting their achievement. We're working with technology. It's helping them because you're using different technologies to teach them, to get the point of the lesson across to them, by integrating different things. It's not just using a notebook now or going to a dictionary or encyclopedia anymore. We're actually using other things, and that can be used towards the knowledge constructor, which this standard is students critically curate a variety of resources using digital tools. And in that particular section, it was talking about digital strategies, which are ways of using devices and software to enrich teaching, learning, and research. So it's basically helping kids use different search engines to do research, not just the traditional what they used to do, back probably when we was in school, some time ago. So for the computational thinker, it is basically saying students develop and employ strategies for understanding and solving problems in ways that leverage the power of technological methods to develop and test solutions. So how do you guys feel about that when it comes, I guess, with the library part of it?
Well, in the library aspect, one of the things that I've noticed is that it's allowing it's integrating and innovating the way students are learning. And we all can agree that every student learns in a very different way. And within those different ways, technology is helping them to be creative and innovative. Mm-hmm. And some of the ways that this can be demonstrated in the classroom is, let's say, for example, what we're doing now. We're doing Zoom. We're utilizing Zoom in order to analyze a certain project or reading. Within the classroom, students can do those same things using technology, not only in order to work together to create a product, but innovate the way we think and to allow us to think using a different perspective and to incorporate the perspectives of others. And also within my district, we use a lot of Schoology based activities. I don't know if y'all use that within y'all's district.
Yeah.
But Schoology, Schoology has really revolutionized the way informal and formal assessments are given, especially within my class. I remember last year when I went on maternity leave, I wasn't able to teach from my classroom. And I know, we all know how substitutes in the classroom work. The students, they don't listen half the time. So basically, I was giving all of my lessons from Schoology. So all of my students were learning through me from Schoology. Just, it's kind of like an online class. So I shifted my classroom format to an online format. So I was still able to meet the needs of each one of my students while not being in the classroom. So technology has definitely revolutionized and not only the way we think, the way we learn, but it also changes the way we collaborate with each other as well. Emily, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. That's super cool. I've actually never heard of that program, but it kind of reminds me of flipped classrooms, which I've never personally used, but I know my undergraduate chemistry class was that way, and I had a high school teacher who was very, very much a fan of the flipped classroom. With this standard, I know one of the substandards talks about algorithmic thinking, and for me right now, I'm actually working with young kids, like 6 to 10-year-olds during the summer, and teaching them how to code and come up with that like block coding, and teaching them how to think in a certain way that's very logical and is still utilizing technology is super beneficial, because it's teaching them that thought process, which can be applied to more than just using a computer, but it's also being able to take that same knowledge and just keep building on it as they figure out and explore how they can learn and develop things with that thought process.
Okay, so I guess taking away, how can this, using the Horizon report that we've been reading about libraries and technology, how can that help us within not only this course, but within our own practices?
Well, I mean, me trying to get into the classroom to teach students, I just feel like that technology is pretty much the way that we're leading, right? We're doing STEM, science, technology, right? So that's, so I think that this thing, I think that it's a wonderful tool to have. I think it's a wonderful tool to use and to utilize, not only in this course, but also going forward in our, with our careers, And then I also like how they kind of touch on each, like on top, like real live topics. They're talking about things that we can use, not things that we're not going to be able to utilize,
Yeah, I know for me, trying to branch from the education field into the private sector and businesses, I know a big shift right now in the business world is using technology simulations for hiring, because we can use technology simulations, for example, with a doctor, because instead of having them operate or perform something that they're supposed to know how to do on a real patient, they can do it on a simulation and no one's harmed. It's less money, it's less time consuming. So there's all these things that you can do with technology, and they're piloting it, I think, in education and in museums and libraries, but it can be used in so many different industries by using that same sort of knowledge that we have of those types of education.